Happy post Mother's Day, Andy Jabor.
Thank you. Yeah, we're both celebrating mothers in our lives. Just glad we could do that. Yeah, it's a great time for moms to be recognized. Whether they're older moms or younger moms. I mean, I think our wives both have done a great job raising children, despite having you and I as husbands. And I think congratulations to all the moms. Happy to be
Yeah,
moms. Yeah.
yeah. This is the Mother's Day marks the end of my like 6 weeks of like celebratory gift giving to my wife because she's got her birthday at the end of April.
Yeah.
You got Easter that goes on there. There's teacher appreciation type of things that go on in there too. And then Mother's Day. So it's like I'm at the end of it, my list of like gifts and stuff that I accumulate during the year, I'm out. I'm all out.
Well, you get a little reprieve, you get a little reprieve. So good job, though. You got to celebrate your wife, got to celebrate our loved ones. They put up with a lot of bullshit, regardless of who we're married to, dating, whatever it is. Like partners, relationships, you put up with a lot of bullshit. It's just part of the deal. So she
Yeah,
deserves whatever love you gave her, Dave.
that's true. There we go. There we go. Andy, we've talked a lot about when you're out on runs or walks and you realize you gotta take a shit,
Yeah,
stuff like that. I think the second worst part of that, and this happened to me this morning, is when you're out on a walk, and I was out walking my dog this morning,
yeah.
and you hear the rain
Oh, yeah.
start coming down. And it's not just a little, sprinkle or drizzle. It's a full out. There you go.
Yeah.
And you're not close. No. Oh boy, that happened to me this morning. It was awful, Andy. So then I come home, I got to change, and then I got to go back out. Oh, it's terrible. So
Yeah, yeah, that can be a challenge. I told you I got poured on a couple weekends ago, and sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it's terrible. When you're walking the dog, it's never really good because your dog's soaked. For me, one of mine can't move very quickly, so I have to pick her up like a little football and sprint back in, pretending I'm Saquon Barkley. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Sorry, but you got a morning shower in, got some exercise in. Good for you.
there we go. There we go. All right, Andy, let's start off on our news from the weekend.
All right.
Yeah, just wish there was some downtime that we could recover from normalcy, but that doesn't really happen here anymore. The big news is that looks like there has been movement on the China trade front. The tariffs that were at 145%,
Yeah.
resulting in very little shipment of goods coming into any of the ports from China, which will have impact here in the next couple weeks. I mean, it's going to be impact one way or the other. But they announced that the tariffs will roll back from 145% to 30%.
Yeah.
Now, key on there is the 30% is still a tariff, is still in place. So it's not like prices are going to go down magically. There will be a reprieve. This does represent a positive step forward, I think, from the administration,
Yeah.
if you look at it. So, somewhat of a positive news. I can only imagine how this is going to be spun, though, Andy. So,
Well, it's going to be spun as a huge victory, right?
yeah.
It's gonna be spun as a huge fucking victory. And I mean, like maybe, I mean, again, despite all the crazy of everything we've experienced the last several months, like I think you and I at least, like we're not in this to object to somebody just to object to them. I wish the president success, right? Now, what does success actually look like? Like, I don't know. Like, can he come out of this with a better situation for America? Like maybe, but the frustration is like, couldn't all this have been done, just completely differently? That's the frustration. Is we spiked up this crazy ass tariff rate. We created chaos. We have ships coming in empty and not coming at all. I mean, there are ships that haven't come at all, that aren't coming in, this round of shipments. So as we do all of this, and then we want to say, well, we ended up at this tariff rate. Isn't this great for America? I mean, maybe, but like the process matters too, right? I mean, like the way we go about these things matters too. So like we'll see, Dave. I sincerely hope for the best possible result so that both China and the US can have victories in this and be in better trade positions. I think free trade generally is the best approach to these things, but maybe they'll come up to some good resolution that both nations feel is positive, and maybe it'll be minimally disruptive. I hope for that. I seriously doubt that.
Yeah, so definitely going to be interesting to watch as we go through it. Again, and China's the big domino, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens with other countries involved and where all these other deals that the president has said that he's made already just hasn't announced. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I think at the end of the day, we're still not. I don't feel we're really addressing the core issues of what the craziness that we went through, right? I mean, we we it was built on a principle that we're going to bring American jobs back here, right? It's going to build on principle that we have an unfair trade balance where it just really, I think everybody's debunked that already, right? It's the reciprocal tariffs and everything was not a result of being punished. It was a result of like we just like to spend more on things outside of the country.
Yeah,
And so I think a lot of that fallacy was there. The bottom line is our costs are still going to go up.
yeah,
And we're still going to feel the impacts where the president has said we're going to be the richest nation in the world. This he may be the richest person in the world by the time this is all said and done, with the gifts that he's going to be getting. But the it just we still haven't addressed. I don't feel the core issues. How are we making our economy better? And I think by the continued distrust and the continued instability, the markets don't like instability. The markets don't like, waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and realizing that the president is going to open Alcatraz or put a tariff on Barbies or put a tariff on, somebody who made him mad. It's, the world doesn't like that, Andy.
yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, it's the chaos of the times that we live in and the constant state of confusion. And look, I mean, if the president causes chaos, and then when some semblance of order comes back together, wants to celebrate it as a win, like that's an approach. You know what I mean? I think voters will feel like it's not the approach Americans want. This chaos, this constant, uncertainty, this constant, aggressive approach to everything and everyone all the time. I don't think it's what most Americans want, right? I mean, the president was elected, again, 49% of the vote to do certain things. I think most Americans are being left wanting right now. It's just reality. So we'll see. He's got the charge. He's doing his job. Not good in most people's opinion, but he's doing his job. We'll see. In a
Yeah.
democracy, we have a chance to reassess, and hopefully we get elections in a couple of years and we get a chance to reassess, and America can say whether they support this bullshit or not.
Yeah, and I think through it all, Andy, I think the core problem is I had a conversation with my son this weekend since he was in town. And his point was, well, it's at least better than the alternative. And I think that still is the central issue for Democrats is, it's better than the alternative of what Kamala Harris would have brought in or what Joe Biden would have brought in. And I think it's kind of tough to counter, right? I mean, because you have this group that really isn't they're sparking outrage. We're
Yeah.
having a lot of outrage, and we'll talk about something more outrageous here in a minute, but it's like they don't have a plan. They didn't have a plan to solve some of these things. So I think that's their core struggle too.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, like polls show, Americans are pissed off with Donald Trump, but they have far less respect for Congress and the Democratic Party in Congress. And look, the Democratic Party in Congress like sucks. Let's not be confused about it. Like they have no plan. They have no real counter message, right? Except for certain moments of, opposition, like Cory Booker's, marathon speech where it looks like, hey, we're gonna fight, but like what is the counter democratic narrative to immigration, right? There isn't one. There
Yeah.
is no other side, no other story, no opposition. So the absence of leadership is killing America. Say what you want about the president, he's decisive and he's in charge. And the Democrats offer no counter. Now you've got people out there speaking to alternatives. You do. Pete Buttigieg has been out nonstop, I think doing an actually great job of articulating a different vision for America, right? But Congress is doing nothing, right? The American people aren't seeing Congress take action. And that's a big, big problem. Now, I disagree with the idea that we're better off than had Kamala Harris gotten elected. She would have been a unimpressive president, I think. She would have contributed to the problems that have plagued America for a long time. I think it would have been way better than what we're experiencing right now. And I know that's a different discussion we can have another day. But the reality is we're here, and now we've got to figure out how the hell we, get better from here.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, Andy, let's roll into topic number two here. Similar theme. So let's talk about maybe a little outrage, maybe a little craziness. But the other big news of the story was the country of Qatar. You can say it a lot of different ways. Qatar, gutter. I'll say Qatar. Um,
A
uh,
country we have both spent time in.
yeah, we have both spent time there. I had 8 months there, right at the lead up of the war in Iraq. It changed so much, and that was, God bless, almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, over 20 years ago. Oh, holy hell. So it's a lot different country now, but it's still just as wealthy. So they have offered the President of the United States a replacement for Air Force One that's being dubbed as the Palace in the Sky.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the concern here is that when this is only for use by President Trump, and so when it's not like a donation to the United States, here you go, here's a great airplane used by all future presidents. It's
Yeah.
no, when President Trump leaves office, it's going to be transferred to the President Trump Presidential Library that still has not been developed or anything like that. So basically, it's for his personal use.
Yeah.
Some people may call that unethical. Some people may call that a bribe. There's been a lot of people. The administration is already out in front of this by saying, "Well, no, a bribe has to be in return for goods and services, and it has to be directly for something." But Andy, you've been in the military, you've been in any sort of business. There's usually an ethical standard around gifts and entertainment. Like you can't accept or you have to declare or you have to do all of these things. Very rarely has a 400, is a $400 million jet been something that would easily go. Andy, I have a hard time sometimes accepting a $25 gift from a vendor, let alone $400 million. Even if the administration were to prove that this is just a pure gift, this is really a bad look, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a terrible look. The the grifter in chief is a title that Donald Trump is happy to take on. Look, no person has deliberately sought to personally profit in the White House more than this president has. Others have profited. It's been less direct and less in the face of Americans. Many have served humbly because they're serving people in the United States. And this goes along with the general distortion of what the president of the United States is. It's a whole other story, but this is reprehensible, right? One, like so many things this president does, it flies in the face of the Constitution, right? There's explicit language about receiving gifts, right? Because we don't want to be shaped and tainted by foreign governments or anybody else, right? So it's prohibited for presidents, for Congress. Like there's rules, just like federal servants who are being thrown out on the street, thrown out on their asses, can't receive gifts of more than like a cheap lunch from people because it influences their role in the trusted position they've been given. The president of the United States can't receive free fucking airplanes for his personal use. Yeah, it's criminal behavior. It's not legal. It's not constitutional. And then the fucking president goes online. And Dave, I don't know if you saw the post. I'm just going to read this for listeners, right? And then what I thought was a great response. I think it really contextualizes the stupidity of the times we're in. So yesterday, Donald Trump, after people came back and said, no, you can't accept this gift, you dumbass. It taints the office of the White House. So the president posted, so the fact that the Defense Department is getting a, all caps, gift free of charge of a 747 aircraft to replace the 40-year-old Air Force One temporarily in a very public and transparent transaction so bothers the crooked Democrats that they insist we pay, all caps, top dollar for the plane. Anybody can do that. The Dems are world-class losers. MAGA, right? This is the president's response, right? Now, again, you read it initially and you're like, yeah, like why are we going to pay for this free gift? Well, one, because unconstitutional and it's perceived as a bribe of the president. Whether it is or it isn't, if Donald Trump completely ignores that and does what he wants and isn't influenced by it, maybe, but it's the perception that matters. And so I thought Matt Novak, a reporter for Gizmodo, posted on this yesterday. And I thought he captured really well in the follow-on post that he put. And he writes, so the fact that I'm getting these large sacks of cash with big cartoonish dollar signs printed on the side, a gift free of charge from a foreign government to replace the empty bags of cash in my closet, so bothers the crooked Democrats that they insist I pay top dollar for the bags of cash. That's in essence what the president is doing here, right? He's taking a free gift, and yeah, it's a free gift, but it comes at a cost. Our reputation, trust and confidence in our government, and the suggestion that our government can be bought and paid for. It is flying in the face of our Constitution, just like so much else that this president and his minions, like J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller, love to throw out there, right? How far can we break the Constitution? It is disgusting. He is a madman. And yeah, Democrats and Americans around the country are right to say, fuck no, Donald Trump, you can't accept this gift for your personal pleasure. And by the way, stop painting the fucking White House gold, right? Like, I mean, this is disgusting behavior. He is a complete nutcase.
Yeah, look, I mean, this like veil of the Defense Department is accepting this. Like, yes, in theory, the Defense Department is
Yeah,
accepting this. But what happens when President Trump leaves office? It goes to his own self. Like, that's again, this is money laundering. The Defense Department is money laundering for the president
yeah,
for his own personal thing. And again, I think we've talked about this before. The president has been profiting off of this. Our favorite secretary, Miss Levitt, was like said last week. She had the audacity to say that the president has given up his life of luxury
yeah,
to serve the American people,
right.
and he's not like he could have been doing so many other things. Like she's so full of shit either. I have to tell you, like every one of these people need to be held accountable for their actions during this period of time because it's in downright like they've sold out their own self for this garbage. Like her, I want somebody to print out all of her like standing on her soapbox, her defiant statements to show like and throw it back in her face at one point in time because it's downright embarrassing. She should be embarrassed, but again, this is just that behavior that continues. Like this is a president his meme coin. He continues to profit off that.
Yeah,
What president does that? And Andy, go back to 2015. If Barack Obama would have accepted a gift like this,
yeah,
can you imagine the outrage from Sean Hannity and all those fuckheads on Fox News? Can you imagine that would be the only news for 24/7?
yeah.
It'd be downright embarrassing.
Yeah, it's disgusting behavior indeed. But ultimately, and I know something that a lot of the president's men and MAGA supporters like don't seem to really care about. And I say that sincerely because I've had conversations with people that don't seem too plussed up about it. It is against the Constitution of the United States of America. Like that should be the end of the conversation, right? The lack of respect and historical understanding of what that document is by President Trump and his ball handlers is unbelievable. And it really speaks to the lack of understanding and education in our country today. And it's really catching up. It's really problematic. But ultimately, like for everything else, everybody wants to say, it's very simple. It violates the Constitution of the United States, period. The conversation is over, right? But it's not. But it's not. And we don't have the outrage, and we're going to have instead, defenders, on Fox News talking about how ridiculous it is that, we have to pay for something that's being freely given to us. It's nonsense. It's Dave, we are living in Putin's victory. Like every day, we are living in the America, in the craziness, in the world that Vladimir Putin wants to see. And it's just absolutely fucking driving me crazy. Please tell me you got something better for us to close out with. Please tell us you
Oh
can
my
bring us
God.
out of hell and bring us to something better, Dave, because so far you're killing me.
Yeah, I know this has been a rough day today, Andy. So, all right, one thing to wrap up on sports here, Andy, is what? How do you feel about this the NBA draft process? So, in all other sports, you have a how you finish is how you draft,
Yeah,
with the exception of trades and all that other stuff. In the NBA, they do it a little bit differently. They do it where it used to be ping pong balls, and now they have a sorting thing. But the teams that don't make the playoffs,
yeah,
based on where your ranking is, you get a number of ping pong balls in the big wheel of the big spin the wheel, please. And then they draw who comes out. So, for example, the worst team was the Washington Wizards. They would get the most balls, and then the last team that didn't make the playoffs, they'd get like one ball. And they would draw this, and as you can imagine, over the years, there's been teams that were lower who maybe just missed the playoffs, got the number one draft pick or something like that. How do you feel about that random chance being played in? Now they've tried to even it out a little bit because some teams were just deliberately tanking.
yeah.
So now the bottom three teams all have the same likelihood of getting the number one draft pick. But see, this game of chance seems like it's I don't know. How do you feel about that, Andy?
Yeah, so I appreciate this the idea of it, like the spirit behind it. Like, hey, we don't want teams to throw. We want teams to like play their best, finish the season, and then we're going to see where it goes. And if you're really the worst, you're going to get the best odds, but anybody could end up with the number one pick. I appreciate the spirit of it to kind of try and end tanking, right? But like so many well-intended ideas, I just don't think it works. And I don't think it serves its purpose, right? I mean, you look at, again, I think the standard, the NFL, it's just rank, right? It's just rank. The Super Bowl champion goes last, the worst team goes first. Is there some gamesmanship towards the end of the season where teams are maybe throwing a little bit? Maybe, maybe not, but it works. And so the lousiest team gets the number one pick, and they get a chance to come out of the hell that they've been in and their fans have been in, and maybe have a chance with that marquee player coming out of the draft, which is always, like maybe they end up being the player you thought they were going to be drafted at number one, and maybe they don't. I think that's just the best way to do it. So like I genuinely appreciate the idea of the lottery. I just don't think it works really. And I think just let the worst team have the first pick and move on, because for the fans that have to endure a crappy season and a crappy team and end up with the number 8 pick, like that is misery. Like that is unfair, fan abuse.
Yeah, it's tough because if you look, because again, all of these type of things are ways to how do you get the lowest teams back to like a respectable level, and so that's why tanking was popular in some of these sports. Is I in order for me to get better, I have to draft better
Yeah,
things and or better players and such. But I think it's still flying in the face of how look at the NFL, Andy. Every year of the playoff teams is somewhere between 40 and 50% of the teams cycle out of the playoffs the
yeah,
next year. And so they may and what that is because there's a competitive balance in the NFL because they have a salary cap, because they have the draft protocols of the way they do. And look, you can't really tank in football. I mean, look, we had some teams that tried to tank last year, the New York Giants and the New England Patriots, and then they wound up winning games
yeah,
at the end of the season because you just can't tank in the NFL because somebody's going to get hurt in those type of situations. And so I think when you try these gimmicks, like the NBA doesn't really they trying to impose a salary cap. They put these salary aprons there when you get to a certain when you have your team at a certain payroll for a period of time, you get penalized financially or through draft picks and whatnot. And so, like the Boston Celtics, they were the best team last year. They may very well win the championship this year. Again, they're going to have a payroll next year of almost $500 million.
yeah.
They're going to be penalized. There's no way they can maintain that salary. for an NBA team. So they're going to cut teams or they're going to get penalized with draft picks and so on. That's the way they're trying to do it. But at the end of the day, they're still not driving the root cause. And there's no salary cap. And in the Major League Baseball, we talked about the Los Angeles Dodgers. They have paid, they have such a competitive imbalance that they're paying somewhere players over a million dollar or $500 million for salaries,
Yeah.
whereas like teams like my Orioles, we barely have $150 million on the salary, and so like there's just and I think that's why the NFL is so good. Your team always has a chance at the end of the year, whereas baseball, some teams are already written off. The Colorado Rockies are 7-33. They're tanking this year. They can't win.
Yeah.
It's hard. So.
Yeah, no, it's right. I mean, it sets up a difficult challenge for teams to try and bring themselves up and elevate their game. And again, you go back and ultimately, sports are about the fans. You know what I mean? And like your team struggling, your baseball team struggling, your basketball team struggling. Like you want to be able to be excited about what's coming next. And like, hey, we suffered, and now we've got a shot. Now we've got this guy, right? And I mean, like, I imagine, like, look at the Detroit Lions after the epically horrible 0-16 season, right? Like, if the Lions didn't get the number one pick the next year, like fans would have been absolutely obliterated, right? But they got the number one pick. They drafted Matt Stafford, great quarterback, brought a lot to Detroit for years and years. Went on to win a Super Bowl with the LA Rams, right? But that kind of bounce back, that kind of hope and optimism, like you've got to give that to your teams, and all these other ways to try and approach it, they just go around achieving the results that they need. And so again, well-intentioned, like much in politics, well-intentioned, but absolutely shitty in reality. Like keep it simple, give fans and teams what they want. And might you get the occasional tankers? You might. Like, okay, if the New York Giants tanked last year and got the number one draft pick, really, like they sucked. I mean, like it'd have been
Yeah.
okay. Same thing, like the teams that are tanking in basketball and baseball, like they suck and they're tanking because they're in position to tank and they're just trying to like seal the deal. Not approving it, don't think it's good. They shouldn't be doing that. But like that's a smaller issue than potentially taking the number one pick away from a lousy team and giving them something far later. So, I like it. I like the idea of it. I like the spirit of it, but it doesn't actually work.
All right, so we'll wrap it in the NBA draft lottery. The draft is not tonight, but the who where you fall in the lottery will they call it the lottery because it is a lottery. You're playing doing the old pinball machine. So that's tonight. I'll have more on this probably on Wednesday. But Andy, you will not be with us on Wednesday. I'm flying solo yet again.
Yeah, I'm abandoning you Wednesday, Dave. We've been talking about my son and his time in basic training. That time is coming to an end, and Wednesday morning we will be down in beautiful Fort Jackson, South Carolina, dark and early to get to visit for family day, and then followed by graduation. We're ecstatic. Can't wait to go and see him and celebrate him and all the young, men and women that are standing alongside him, volunteering to go serve in this great United States Army. And so, yeah, I'm abandoning you. And Dave, I'm doing it joyfully, to be honest. I do intend to be back on Friday to be confirmed, but best of luck Wednesday. Look forward to hearing where things go. And thanks for letting me be with you on this beautiful post Mother's Day Monday.
There we go. Andy, you have to find out for me though. I want to report back. Do they still use Brasso to clean the bathrooms? Just can you find out that for
I'll
me?
see if I can figure out the answer to that for you.
Okay. All right. With that, Andy, it is not beautiful here in Charlotte this week. It's going to be raining all week, but I get your idea. It is a beautiful Monday post Mother's Day. But with that, I will catch up with you on Friday, I hope, and I'll catch up with everybody else on Wednesday.